Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to ORL Online Racing League with me, CRG Gio, also known as George Morgan. I am your host once again this evening alongside my partner in crime, Manuel, also known as Maku. Maku, how are you doing tonight, fella?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Got a little bit of last-minute stress with school, but yeah, that's fine. We all had to do it somehow, someday. So yeah, let's head into this second race at Canada, but this time it's more of a social event.
Absolutely. Obviously back here at Canada and very much looking forward to it again. Obviously we couldn't get enough of it the previous week, but we're going to bring some more to you instead. Obviously Canadian Grand Prix, synonymous with Formula 1 racing, as many of the classic tracks are. The Canadian Grand Prix, founded in 1961 and first held in 1961 in Formula 1, and certainly this track of Montreal coveted in F1 history. Naturally, the circuit length, 2.709 miles long. That equates to 4.361 kilometres. And generally, going around this circuit, you're going to find lots of tight chicanes, tight corners, hairpin bends. That includes the Epingle hairpin. And then that long casino straight leading down towards the famous Wall of Champion chicane, which can really catch a few out. And we did see that last week, Maku, in our actual league race. It was absolutely mad, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, but... Did anyone actually got catch up by the Wolf champions?
I think there was that little coming together, I think, between Arsene Kardanov and Jarno Otmir, which threw a few
through the last chicane. I think not really into the Wolf champions, of course. Fortunately, because it's very easy to lose your rear tires there, or your front ones. But yeah, of course you have to pay attention to the whole track because it's a very fast one, just mostly consisting of chicanes, as you said. And yeah, let's take a look at the qualifying times.
Absolutely. Well, the drivers are now making their way out onto the circuit now. We're just seeing quite a flood of them leaving the pit lane. Obviously, the paddock now emptying as we speak. And Arsene Kardanov, one of the ones on the outlaps, as well as Boomson, Photon, Hayes. James Baldwin back with us this week, as well as Photon. Ferrari going with a different car today in the test race. Simon Vigang also out in an outlap. Mr. Anker driving the Mercedes. Jarno Otmir obviously not here today. CRG Common there as well. And Jan Fieler in the Racing Point. So we've got plenty of quality drivers here. And Donator as well. We've got to talk about him, Maku. He is the B split champion and looking to show off what he can do amongst a lot of these A territory drivers. But he's certainly no mug on his day, Maku. He's a good driver.
Yeah, for sure he's a good driver, and yeah, he's a little bit known already too. I think he's also driving in AR, and he's surely taking a look into the A split next season, and now he already has the possibility to drive with a few of his new colleagues, and yeah, let's see how he'll perform. Yeah, because it's a different kind of pressure racing against people like James Baldwin or Sam Wagang or Arsene Kardanov and Bernardo Perez, for example.
Absolutely. It's going to be a real true test for Andonator, and in fact we could just ride on board with him for this lap. He's just making his way through the Wall of Champion chicane now, bombing down the straight. As you can see, the paddock lit up with the spectators up in the stands on the left hand side and on the right as well, as they come up now towards the Virage Senna, which is the series of bends leading through to what will be the short straight before the next chicane. I'm going to call it the Vettel-Hamilton chicane after that incident those two had coming together that in fact led to Vettel being penalised, not able to take P1 as he makes his way around the Pont della Concorde now, that right-handed bend just before this semi-chicane. Simon Vigang taking the provisional pole position with a 107.777, treble sevens all round for Simon Vigang, as we're now looking at Andonator making his way under the bridge before the next chicane now. These chicanes here at Canada, not to be treachered with. I mean, naturally, very short and snappy indeed, and you've got to be careful because the walls are very tight. Jan Fieler now going quickest as we now see Andonator make his way around the Epingle hairpin. 107.727 for Jan Fieler, and that is the top billing for the time being as we now watch Silver Arrows of Andonator bombing down the casino stretch. What is he going to get on his first fast lap here at Canada? Will he do certainly a Gilles Villeneuve special, because of course this track synonymous with Gilles Villeneuve is Alvaro Aznar, 107.700 at the time, and Andonator with a 108.371. Respectable maybe on medium tyres, but obviously quite a gap between the guys that are on the top steps, Maku.
Yeah, for sure. We've seen like the podium, not really podium, but the first three are currently into justice. Oh, and we've just got a new fast lap from James Baldwin, but the 2 to 4 are in these 17.7 window. So like in between a tenth of a second, that's just a little of a margin in time. It's just, well, you know, a little mistake, steering a little bit too much or something like that. Taking like 1 meter more than the other one, and well, that's what you see in the timetable.
Yeah, from what I understand, Maku, we have got rain forecast throughout, so I think the driver's looking to get an early stint out to try and put their fastest laps on the table before it all comes crashing down. Naturally, you'll want to make the most of the speed of the track while you've got it. Naturally, the grip will fall off as the rain starts to fall. As you can see, James Baldwin making the most of the soft tyres straight off the bat, setting a 107.520, the fastest gamer, topping the billing already here at the start of this qualifying session here at Canada. Alvaro Aznar currently in P2, not far away from James Baldwin in terms of delta time. 2/10 approximately separating those two, and he's currently on the front row, but we've still got plenty of drivers that have still yet to hit the track. Boomsun K, who's on an outlap, Kardanov, as well as Leonard and the Flying Finn. Now Flying Finn, Maku, no slouch on his day, a race winner and back in league racing, and I gotta say I commentated on him once at AOR where he won at China, and he's got plenty in the tank. You've got to be wary of Flying Finn, haven't you?
Yeah, Flying Finn can really put out something. He didn't have that much last time in Canada, I think. I'm actually not sure where he finished last time, but it was kind of a messy race. A lot of people went into the walls, and we had a lot of not real fair driving. So yeah, hopefully that'll be better this time. But I think it's not rain in the qualifying session. It's in the first stint of the race. So I'm not sure why people are on mediums, because if the first stint of the race is in rainy weather, they all get fresh, wet tires.
Yeah, well, looking at it now, Flying Finn is out on the soft straight away, and he's now making his way down the casino stretch. As you can now see, the McLaren just behind him. I think he might have just got a little bit tangled with that McLaren in the middle sector, in about sector 2, just after the Pont della Concorde. But we're now seeing Flying Finn exit the Wall of Champions now, heading up across the line. The Red Bull is about to set a time. Nothing as of yet, a 108.151, which I believe was invalidated, Maku, and that means he's going to have to set another one. Obviously, doesn't do well for your confidence to have a lap invalidated, but in Canada, it's all too common. Those apexes are very, very tight, aren't they, Maku?
Yeah, they're really, really tight, and just an inch, a degree of steering more or less can be enough to invalidate your lap, especially with that much chicanes. You know, it's not really easy to cut like the normal corners. You can do it there also too, of course, but chicanes are like also you have to chain 2 corners together, and you have to hit the exact right spot to get the fastest lap, but also not invalidate your lap. So yeah, it's pretty easy to invalidate and pretty hard to nail that perfect hot lap. But you know, still the drivers are practicing a lot. They somehow can still put on those bombastic, those really good times.
Yeah, well, just seeing now Simon Vigan coming into the pit lane as well. He's just set a 107.777 when he set that at the start of the qualifying session, to be honest. But now he's been relegated down to P5. Obviously, a lot of the drivers setting faster laps. We're now seeing Jan Fieler come up down the straight. I think he'll be about to set his fastest lap as well. We did just see him exit or cut through the chicane, obviously to let Bernardo Perez through, because obviously it's a very tight track around Canada and not many places for a car to give way. And he dives into the pit lane as we speak, and Alvaro Aznar about to cross the line as well. What's he going to post? He comes up across the line. Is it going to be a 107.631? It is indeed a P2 there for the Toro Rosso driver, and Alvaro Aznar setting a P2 level standpoint. He was there anyway, but a 107.631 and a very modest lap time indeed. Toro Rosso currently having a great bold day today, currently P2 to his name, but James Baldwin still hanging on to that P1 position, which he could do with a good win today, Maku, and it'll do wonders for his race confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think in America he had his puncture, was really unfortunate because he had actually a really good race. So yeah, hope maybe it's a win for him today. But take a look at Animator. He is currently in P5, on provisional P5, of course. There's still 8 minutes of qualifying left, and also Hayes sneaked up in the table and is currently on P3. All of them were really close match times. So
yeah, I mean, you look
yeah.
at that. You look at that table now, and the 107s. You've got Calcifer there, who's
Yeah.
on the 107.924. A very good lap for Calcifer, actually. But then you look further down. You've got James Baldwin, obviously on P1, 107.384. So literally 6/10 across the field between all those drivers. That's phenomenal numbers, isn't it?
Yeah, that's just crazy, because you have to imagine all those drivers are nailing nearly exactly the same lap. It's just inches that if you put every car on the track at the same time, it's just inches that they were on the different different path through the circuit.
Yeah, well, we're going to ride on board now with Simon Vigang, because obviously Simon, who has had to deal with the brunt of Speed Barry and Jarno Watmir all season, has every chance now to obviously solidify his place at the top end. And McLaren come into this race with two excellent drivers. News, Maku.
Look at Calcifer. Look where he landed. He's currently in P2.
My word, Calcifer out of nowhere. The man, the mystery, the legend, that is Calcifer in the Alfa Romeo, sits himself on P2. And I got to say, a very good lap indeed. Still got to find just under 3/10 on James Baldwin, but nonetheless, a very good lap indeed by Calcifer. And that sticks the Alfa Romeo on P2. So at least for the time being, he's going to be jumping for joy at that. We've also got Simon Vigang now, who's now making his way up to the Pingle hairpin, and very soon be making his way down the long casino stretch, the Droit de Casino, as they would say in Canadian French, though I got to say my Canadian French isn't that brilliant. So I'm going to be sticking to the English version for now, as he bombs his way down the casino stretch in the orange McLaren. The Wall of Champions dead ahead as he waves up the chicane for a move. And as he does so, cuts through it. Lovely. Oh, a little bit off the track there. A bit of a squiggly line leaving the exit of that chicane as he comes up across the line. P1 for Simon Vigang. It's a double McLaren top of the board. It is 107.369. A phenomenal lap time from Simon Vigang, Maku.
Yeah, not at the end of the quality like we wanted to see before, like he did it a lot of times. But yeah, hopefully we'll not get into a McLaren stall order fight, but I don't think so. It's a social race, so there's nothing to win for the team. So I think Simon and James will just battle like normal, like if they were in different teams. Because there's actually just that they have the same people to come to when they're going into the pits.
They do, yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you've obviously got to work as a team in terms of trying to negotiate your pit stops and things like that. Obviously, no one wants to be held up. But as things stand, I mean, obviously, James Baldwin and Simon Vigang, both of them competitive drivers, and certainly none of them want to sacrifice a potential P1 spot. Though I got to say, if you were taking points to an account, and obviously this is only a social race of sorts here today, no points on offer for the McLaren team as such, but obviously you want to have some sort of team spirit going into this race, because obviously it is all about strategy. So there's a happy middle, I think, Maku, when it comes to working with a teammate that when there's no points on the board. I still think there is that slight emphasis. I think you've also got to give credit to Flying Finn as well, who's just notched himself on a P3, and I've got to say he's having an excellent return to league racing, Maku.
Yeah, he looks really great today, and I think he'll be involved in this top fight too. There have been no Jarno today, who's flying away at the front, and yeah, I think it's really special if you have no pressure from like getting points as a team or getting points as a driver, because mostly in teams you then want to, of course, the driver who has more points in the championship currently, or is even leading, that the other driver should let him pass. But it's also, it's just racing. Those drivers want to win. It's not in their minds that they want to win the championship. Every driver just wants to take this time the win. Every driver is just fighting for the best possible position.
They certainly do, and I got to say, it's every driver for himself. It doesn't matter if it's an exhibition or a social race or even a league race or even a competition race, tournament, whatever it may be. You want to be number one regardless of what happens out there on track. So we're now looking. Alvaro Aznar making his way round towards the Epingle hairpin. Remember, he was leading the affairs earlier on, though he was in P2 for a brief period. He's been knocked down since, obviously, since the new lap times have come through. We've lost Kamil Komon as well. I'm not sure whether that's an incident on track, Maku. Can you keep us updated on that?
I could, but I don't see a car standing somewhere, so he should be in the pits. He should have been retired in the pits, I think.
Right, okay, so no incidents out on circuit, so he's okay for now. I'm just going to ride on board now with Jan Fiehler, who's making his way on the outset of the Ponte della Concorde into the next left-right, and very soon he'll be making his way under the bridge. Jan Fiehler, who, I've got to say, looked incredibly strong at Canada last week. He managed to get himself a podium spot, and indeed looking to do it once again as he makes his way on the outside. Oh, just nudges the wall there slightly. Not handy at all for Jan Fiehler as he comes up towards the Epingle hairpin. The Pink Panther looking to score a good result. You can see he has indeed sustained damage. That end plate is missing on the right-hand side of that front wing, so that's not going to help him, especially down at the Wall of Champions. And he's trying to get a toe off that Alfa Romeo, and as he does so, making his way down towards the Wall of Champions now. I cannot see him taking it, and no, he doesn't. Repairs are on the cards here for Jan Fiehler, and he will come out and try again, I'm sure, though we have only got 2 minutes left, so he's going to have to be quick, Maku.
Yeah, for sure he has to. And I have to say, always in Canada, if the drivers are going into the first few corners, it always looks like, because there's so much rubble left on the track, it always looks like it's a little bit wet there. That's always a little bit confusing, but yeah, that's just how it is. I think it's the only track where I really noticed it, that it looks really wet, even though it's just rubber. But yeah.
Well, Simon Vigan going fastest again, a 107.335. The man doesn't know when to quit. The McLaren drivers still topping the bill right now. And looking at it at this stage, is literally a minute fly hairline right between James Baldwin and Simon Vigan right now. They're all within. They're both within a tenth at least, or half a tenth more so at this moment in time. James Baldwin currently in P2, Simon Vigan P1. James Baldwin, though, all the same, currently out on a fast lap, and I think we should keep it with him, because there'd be no doubt in my mind that he's obviously going to look to try and knock Simon off his perch right now. Literally nothing between these two as things stand. Both of them in orange McLarens, both of them wanting that P1 spot, that famed P1 spot here at Montreal, as we now watch James Baldwin bombing down the casino stretch on his outlap, preparing to make a start on this circuit to post a time to try and knock Simon Vigan off top spot. Indeed, lovely exit there from James Baldwin, the world's fastest gamer, looking to do it here at Canada, and as he does so, comes up towards what is the Virage Centre, takes that first corner as much as possible. You want to try and swallow all of that curb as he now makes his way on the exit now. He's got the Vettel-Hamilton chicane dead ahead, and indeed, once again, take all the curb, ensure that you can get almost like a straight line through that chicane, and Boomson doing very well just to move aside, allowing James Baldwin to come through. Probably should have taken a little bit more of that curve there, and the rain coming down, maybe that's adding a complication here as Photon retires as well from the session. Jan Fiehler has as well, as we now watch James Baldwin go under the bridge, heading into the next chicane, and indeed the Toro Rosso is off the track there. I'm not sure whether that is Alvaro Aznar, because Kamil Komon retired quite a while ago. Kruzic is out as well, and we're just watching as they make their way around the Epingle hairpin. The McLaren of James Baldwin now bombing down the casino stretch. I'd imagine that the rain has really caused a complication to his fast lap, and indeed I don't think he's 100% committing to this lap right now as they go to the Wall of Champions. Indeed, he's jumped through it, he's going for it nonetheless. A little bit of a squirrel coming out of the exit as he comes up across the line, and indeed he is not going to improve that much at all, if anything, and that's the end of qualifying for him. Simon Vigan is going to be currently on pole for the race that we're about to start now. But Maku, incredible session there for the two McLaren drivers.
Yeah, but I would have really liked to see what James Baldwin could have done without the rain. I mean, I think in the end it was the rain a little bit that especially caused him to have a little bit of oversteer into the last chicane, and he was a little bit up on his time before, so it was not his best lap. But yeah, would have been. I mean, well, the genres are pretty close together. It's like 0.049 seconds or something.
Yeah, very, very slim. Just under half a second.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Not under half a second. It's like under a I don't know. It's just a minimum gap. It's 0.049 seconds.
Unbelievable.
It's nothing.
Unbelievable.
Blink of an eye.
It is literally a blink of an eye. And Simon Vigang, as you can see, top of the billing in P1. James Baldwin P2. Flying Finn P3. Alvaro Aznar P4. Calcifer P5. Hayes P6. Jan Fieler P7. Antonator P8. Boomsum P9. And Photon in P10. They make up the numbers in the top 10. Obviously, we've got quite a few drivers spread out amongst the grid order. And I'm sure we'll go through them for you during the formation lap. It's been absolutely phenomenal racing here at Canada. Certainly in the league race last week, there was no short of action. And indeed, the rain is absolutely tipping down here, Maku, and around a circuit like Canada, that is going to be a very complicating exercise for all of these drivers.
Yeah, but it's of course also a little bit of it's something different, because driving the same track again would be kind of boring too. So the rain, of course, gives a little bit of a challenge again to the whole thing. So yeah, hopefully the drivers are prepared. I mean, they have now nearly had 2 weeks to prepare, because they prepared last week, at least for the dry, and they should have at least trained a little bit in the wet. So yeah, let's see how they do.
It makes you wonder how this would affect the setups going into a race like this. I mean, obviously, when you have a dry qualifying session and you jump into a wet race, you've got to take that setup into account, because obviously you don't want to come into a wet race, with a wet setup, surely. With a dry setup, surely.
Yeah, for sure. So the question is, maybe James was, I don't know, I'm just assuming, but maybe James had a more rainy setup, and James had the setup more on the rain side, and Simon went for a setup with more, which is better on the dry track. So maybe James is now faster in the wet. But yeah, we don't know. We can't see the setup changes they made. But yeah, they're for sure all changing their front wings, because that's the thing you can change, even though you have Parc Fermé.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can change your wings during the race to add a little bit more downforce to the car, and I can imagine, I would not be surprised if a lot of these drivers actually do make those amendments throughout this race, because obviously, given the fact that the rain is coming down, you want to take every little bit of advantage you can, and if it's in your control and you can make those changes, I'd imagine that is going to be on top of their list right now. It'll be interesting to see at the start as to what decisions these drivers make, because obviously the drivers that are at the bottom of the grid may have gone for a setup that carries more downforce rather than straight line speed, just to make sure that they're able to execute the corners of Canada that much more effectively. Now, you've got to remember, it's a long race here, 35 laps, and these drivers obviously not so worried about potentially starting the race at the front. Maybe they're half expecting that a few of the drivers at the top end of the billing may have gone for a slightly more drier setup, or with something with less downforce, therefore allowing them to creep through the grid from the start of the race. We could very well see plenty of overtakes, maybe a winner from the back of the grid, Maku.
Yeah, for sure. Rain also always opens this possibility, because just damaging your front wing is really dangerous in the rain, because you don't have the downforce anymore. So you have understeer in nearly every corner. But now the grid is forming; they're nearly complete. We're just waiting for the lights.
We are indeed. They're just lining up after the formation lap now, folks. The lights will soon be going red and nearly going out. Here we go. Party on. First light, second light, third light, fourth light, 5 lights! And it's pedal to the metal. Go, 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 go. Simon Vigang gets away well, but so does James Baldwin in behind them. Flying Finn, grouping up with the two McLarens. Can he split the difference? Going through the Virage Centre. No, he can't. Going wide. James Baldwin there, trying to obviously cling onto the track with all his might as they make their way down through the Virage Centre. Now making their way towards the Vettel-Hamilton chicane now. As you can now see, Simon Vigang leading them through. There's some clusters going on in the back. As you can see, Jan Fieler going toe-to-toe with Alvaro Aznar on the outset. Hayes going for a wide there on the outset of the chicane. Madness from the start. Battles all over the place. Maku, incredible scenes.
What an incredible scene. And Jan Fieler has had a really good start. He went 2 places up. He was already battling with Alvaro Aznar, but now he got a little bit caught out. We've seen nearly something like the Vettel-Hamilton thing. He was pushed on the grass a lot. So yeah, but he's for sure looking for that place, and he wants to have the podium spot. But of course, Alvaro Aznar is a very good driver. and Flying Finn. Oh, Flying Finn has done the overtake onto James Baldwin and is now in second place, chasing down Simon Wiegand. So yeah, but I think James wants that place back, and of course wants to be again behind his team colleague.
He does indeed. I think obviously the McLaren plan is obviously to try and sit tight to each other as best as possible and try and work the toe. I'm starting to wonder whether Flying Finn may have carried a setup that carries a lot more downforce. I did discuss this at the start of the race because obviously carrying what would be reduced downforce in a circuit like this. Oh, a nudge there from James Baldwin, and indeed Flying Finn off the track, and that's really unfortunate after a prosaic rise into P2. James Baldwin unfortunately just tapping there on the Virage Centre. It does happen obviously in wet races, like we keep on saying, grip is a real nightmare, certainly on a circuit like this. But Jan Fieler making the most of it, moves into P3, and you can see a lot of them here, Maku, skidding all over the asphalt of this circuit. Phenomenal scenes here. Obviously the water really causing and affecting these F1 cars here. We are now in lap 2 of 35. Obviously no DRS will be on the cards on this occasion when we reach lap 3, but I don't think that's going to cause a major problem where it comes to overtakes, because I've got to say a lot of these cars really struggling for grip around these apexes, and Flying Finn now moving back up into P3, and Hayes not far behind him, Maku.
Yeah, they're all still battling. Jan Fieler still wants his place, but the two Red Bulls are there, still in front of him, defending their places. But I have to say, some of the guys pitting went for the intermediate already. I mean, it's still a pretty heavy rainfall, and the cars haven't cleared the track completely. So I'm not sure if it's the right choice.
Well, no, we've just seen a couple of drivers go into the pits, Bernardo Perez and Jan Fieler, both of them going in. Whether that's a damage situation or whether it's to fit fresh tyres, I'm not sure. And indeed, they're going for the Inters, Maku. So very interesting indeed. I would have thought, considering that the conditions are still very damp right now, though Alvaro Aznar just set a 122.773, fastest lap so far on the intermediate tyres. So who knows? Maybe that is the right thing to do, given the situation. To me personally, this rain still looks extremely heavy, still plenty of water out on track. But if these drivers can start netting these faster laps, then all the power to them. I suppose they've got every right to make use of these Inters while they've got it.
Yeah, for sure there are. So we have now already 5 cars on the track with these Inter tires, and well, you know, if they want to do it, and if they can keep their car on the track, I mean, there's still some guys struggling on their wet tires, but you know, we have 2 McLarens pretty close, the 2 Red Bulls pretty close, and then there's Aninator, our F1B split champion, looking for some places up there. But I just wanted to quote the chat for a moment, because someone said, "Why is this guy always yelling?"
Yeah, Maku, why'd you always yell?
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I'm just emotional.
Yeah, the racing can be very emotional, ladies and gentlemen. No, I got to say, no, I'm a very, very shouty person, but I love it. I love it.
Very calm.
Yeah, I'm a very calm person. I've taken my calm pills today. It's good. It's fine. But no, I'm just watching now. James Baldwin, he's 7/10 behind Simon Wiegand right now. The 2 McLarens have plenty of clean air between them right now. As you can see, a second separates them, but obviously they've got a nice tidy, healthy gap between the Red Bull of Hayes right now, 3.5 seconds separating, and you do have to wonder whether Red Bull have come in with a very compromising setup into this event, because obviously they're starting to languish a bit, and Alvaro Aznar is starting to cut through them on his intermediate tyres. Now this is interesting, Maku, given the fact that strategies when it comes to rainy conditions, I've got a feeling that maybe Red Bull might have made a mistake here.
Yeah, why? Because Flying Finn went in this lap, and you know, you can't really take 2 cars at the same time. I mean, they could have pitted earlier. I think that would be the better choice, because as you see now, I was wrong before. The Inters are obviously a lot better currently than the full wets. So, well, the Inters are now gaining a lot of time, and even if we take a look at James Baldwin and seeing Sam Wiegand, they will lose a lot of time, because they're going now into the pits, and they will be skipped by a lot of the drivers currently out already on the mediums, not on the mediums, on the intermediates.
Well, it's a great opportunity here for Alvaro Aznar, because he's now moved up a position, because James Baldwin, well, 2 positions in fact, because Hayes has pitted. So Alvaro Aznar now moves up to P2. And a good showing from him. He's now up there with the rest. And as you can see, James Baldwin now coming back out onto the circuit. He doesn't sacrifice a lot of places, and now he's got fresh intermediate tyres. So on his mind right now, he's got to try and catch up with Alvaro Aznar. Try and catch every little bit of pace he can off the grey part of the circuit. Make sure he keeps the car on the black stuff and manages to push on and close the gap between him and the Toro Rosso. 1.6 seconds has been cut down to 1.5 now, and it certainly seems to me that James Baldwin making the most of that fresh compound, looking to close the gap on that Toro Rosso. Looking further down, Bernardo Perez also coming to blows with Hayes. Hayes all over the back of Jan Fiedler as they make their way out onto the next chicane. Jan Fiedler has got to put his best defensive helmet on now as they make their way up towards what will be the Epingle hairpin, and it's a question of who can take this hairpin bend better, because obviously not only do you want to get it right on the inset but on the outset as well, as we now see the Red Bull all over the back of that racing point. Can Jan Fiedler hold this guy off, Maku?
Jan Fiedler is a great driver. I think he can. But let's take a look. I mean, Hayes isn't a bad driver either. So it's for sure a nearly equal battle. But I have to say we've not often seen them race in the rain. And it's not every driver's thing to race in the rain. So maybe Hayes has an advantage, or Jan Fiedler has an advantage. But no, he doesn't. He goes for the grass. Well, the green tire doesn't really belong to the green parts of the track, but it's worth a try.
Do you think he was looking for camouflage, Maku?
Possibly, yeah. He went to hide with his tires in the grass.
Yeah, just go with the go green. I know they say go green, but that's taking the mick, as we now see Jan Fiedler coming through the chicane after the Pont della Concorde. Hayes obviously taking that P5 position, so Jan Fiedler is going to be baying for blood now. Leonard setting a 120.761 on Inters, so obviously the track is getting more and more suitable for the green tyre, as we have said, Maku, and maybe this means that the rain could start subsiding over the course of this race. If that does happen, then obviously we could be having some eyes on what will be some interesting strategies as we make our way through the rest of this lap. And lap 6 indeed of 35, soon to be lap 7, as we now see the Racing Point bomb down the casino straight in behind Bernardo Perez, eyeing up Jan Fiedler for a potential overtake on the Williams, not quite gaining the traction that he would if he had DRS on a dry track, as they now make their way through the next the Wall of Champion chicane. The Racing Point now going in towards the paddock, obviously to try and take most of the track on the inset towards the Barrage Centre, left and right. And indeed the Racing Point now snugged right in the back of Hayes. He's managed to reduce, I think, some of the deficit now, Maku. That gap only a second now in between him and Hayes. And James Baldwin also trying to eat at the time with our race leader, Alvaro Aznar.
Yeah, as I said, Alvaro had the advantage, or the early intermediate pit had the advantage over those one getting later on them. But it looks also like James Baldwin is able to close in the gap to Alvaro Aznar, maybe just because of his race pace. So we'll have to take a look at that. Unfortunately, they don't have yet DRS because it's still too wet. But I think the weather will change. Because in the chat, someone wrote the first stint is only rain. So I think we'll get a weather change, and as you said, strategies will get really mixed up and will get really interesting. Who pits at the exact right point to get the better, the faster times on track, and with that, it's really possible that everyone can still win this race.
It is getting faster and faster. James Baldwin, I was just about to say Alvaro Aznar picking up a 3-second time penalty out of the Wall of Champion chicane. James Baldwin just picked one up on the Barrage Centre, on the entrance to the Barrage Centre. So they're on an even keel now, the top two. And I was just about to say as well, James Baldwin picking up the fastest lap of the race with a 1:19. So P2 James Baldwin has definitely found the pace on this Canadian circuit as he makes his way through the chicane after the Pont della Concorde. The McLaren chasing down the Toro Rosso, and Alvaro Aznar is probably looking in his mirrors and seeing the fact that James Baldwin has managed to close the gap by 0.6 since the start of the last lap. So he's definitely finding some really good time at the moment. And you've got to think an overtake might be on the cards as they make their way down towards the Pingle hairpin now. The Toro Rosso taking it. You can see in front of the McLaren of James Baldwin. James Baldwin having a great run in the entrance of that hairpin bend. And indeed has closed the gap once more by about 2/10. So we're now making our way down to the casino straight now as we now ride on board with James Baldwin right now, the world's fastest gamer, trying to plug on the back of Alvaro Aznar as they now make their way down towards what will be the Wall of Champions yet again. Can they control Alvaro Aznar taking a lot of that initial curve? And coming out of it, no penalties given though, so he's okay for the time being as James Baldwin once again goes fastest to 1:19.619. That's not Rey Mysterio that you may be thinking of there, but that's a great lap time nonetheless. You're now seeing James Baldwin on the outset definitely has the pace. We got to be seeing an overtake happening very shortly, Maku.
Yeah, we really got to be. Even though he's dropping back a little bit, but for sure he now gets a little bit of the a slipstream. But the other thing is, as you get close to another driver, you have your complete visor is full of water, and seeing in this position is really hard. So yeah, let's take a look at how he handles that and how soon he will be going out of the back of Alvaro and looking to a path next to him for an overtake.
Indeed, they're coming around the Pingle hairpin now. And James Baldwin braking may have left it just a little bit late there, just going around the Pingle hairpin. But he's okay nonetheless, managed to recover it well as they make their way down towards the casino straight now. You can see the Toro Rosso dead ahead of that McLaren. Coming into the fray as well is Simon Vigang. He's not far away from his teammate either. About 1.5 seconds separating those two. And then there's a gap of 6-7 tenths to the Flying Finn, who's got himself way back, well, right back into the fold. Indeed, it's starting to look like the start of the race already. The other Red Bull of Hayes as well coming into the mix as well. So we're pretty much as we were as Simon Vigang goes fastest yet again at 1:19.525. And it definitely shows that the track is starting to dry up, Maku.
Definitely looks like it, but still intermediate weather. And if you take a look at Bernardo Perez, he's now really closing into Jan Fiedel, but he hasn't been able to find a way past him. So Jan Fiedel is now really under pressure, and he also lost a little bit of time onto Hayes. Maybe he's just not pushing anymore, saving some of his tire, because I think the drivers are concentrating on bringing these tires until the end of this stint. And Bernardo Perez is looking for it down the inside through this little bend in the straight. I think Jan Fiedel hit the wall a little bit, so therefore his exit was worse than Bernardo Perez.
Yeah, I think he ate a little bit of turf there on the inset of that corner just as we were about to take the chicane, and I think indeed he suffered greatly after that, and Bernardo Perez was able to take advantage on the outset of that chicane after the bridge, and the Williams has now moved himself up to P6, and now we're looking back down. James Baldwin now only half a second from Alvaro Aznar, so that gap is now really, really close. Flying Finn is also closing the gap on Simon Vigang, so we've got a potential double battle in the top 5 as things stand. Jan Fiedler, though, still on the back of Bernardo Perez. I don't think that battle's going to be over just yet, as they make their way now on lap 11, heading into what will be the Vettel-Hamilton chicane, as I've now christened it, as they make their way through. James Baldwin still very much plugging the back end of Alvaro Aznar, probably waiting for something to happen to the Toro Rosso as things stand, because he's, I got to say, James Baldwin just driving, a very calm and collected Grand Prix, doing very well so far to keep the car on the track. Obviously, everyone on equal footings here, given the fact that we're all having to deal with wet weather conditions as they make their way through the next chicane after the bridge. And you can see that Alvaro Aznar probably didn't get the best of outset of corners after that chicane, and James Baldwin maybe took advantage by about 2 tenths. They make their way around the Pingle again, and the McLaren, I think, might have a chance here as they make their way on the outset of the Pingle hairpin onto the Droita Casino, and indeed the McLaren weighing up Alvaro Aznar here for a potential overtake. Can James Baldwin get it done on this straight now, just before the Wall of Champions? On the outset, here comes the McLaren, the orange McLaren bursting past. Indeed, he moves in well. He takes P1, the Toro Rosso relegated down to P2, but it's not over just yet. Will Alvaro Aznar make a move on the Virage Centre as he makes his way round? No, James Baldwin holds on, manages to get the traction, and he now leads in lap 12 of 35, Maku.
Oh, yeah, no, I think there was a little bit of a touching. But look, Simon Wigan found a way back to them too. The front three is now really close together. I think Simon had a bigger gap, like over a second. so he got closer too. And Flying Finn is for sure also looking for the podium spots, and they're now also close together, so maybe he has a chance, especially when those guys in front start battling again, because for sure they won't settle in this position, and Simon Weigang is already really close to Alvaro Aznar, so maybe he's the next one to chase him down onto the Casino Straight and go for the overtake, or maybe already. But no, he just looks for the better exit. I think we will see another overtake down the Casino Straight, and yeah, he's already really close. I think Alvaro had a really worse exit. He had a little bit of oversteer at the end, and yeah, it was a beautiful overtake from Simon Weigang. He got past really quick, even quicker than James. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, very well done indeed. I got to say, like you were saying, Maku, it definitely looked like that Alvaro Aznar struggled on the exit of the Apingle. James Baldwin just losing a bit of traction there around the Virage Centre, and indeed loses the back end slightly, though he did manage to keep the car on the track, so very well done there as we have our first DNF of the session, that being Mr. Anker. So the Mercedes driver is out, so Mercedes now one-legged with our B-split Drivers' Champion of this season, Andonator. Now the only Mercedes left on track is Flying Finn, who has now succumbed to the parent team of Flying Finn, and indeed that Red Bull has snatched P3 from the unsuspecting Toro Rosso, and Alvaro Aznar unfortunately relegated down into P4, and the track, the rain, I believe, Maku, has indeed started to, well, it's subsiding slowly.
And DRS got re-enabled. Not re-enabled, but enabled for the first time. And with now the first guys on the soft compound, not on the soft, on the dry compound. We have now a few on the hard ones and a few on the medium ones. I think they all wanted to go for not another pit stop, just bring those tires till the end, because else they would have been going for the soft ones, because of course those would be the fast ones and the ones with more grip, even. Especially in those still a little bit rainy situations.
Well, Simon's going to find it tough now because he's really got to try and push, and that being on intermediate tyres is going to be a very, very hard thing to do, especially if the track is drying up at such a rapid rate. As we now see James Baldwin, like the majority of the top 10, in fact all of nearly the top 10, pitting for the softer compounds or the slick compounded tyres as they make their way around now. You can see Simon Weigang trying to hold on to the car as best he can round the Ponte della Concorde into the next left-right, and as you can see he's trying to hug every apex he can. Surely he's going to pit in the next lap, as you now see Kruzich on hard tyres no less, a 119.349. Now Arsen Kardanov splitting that as well. The intermediate tyres seem to be the slower option now. Everyone moving on to the dry compounds now, Maku.
Yeah, everyone is taking a look at it. And with just Simon Weigang still out on the intermediates, and for sure the McLaren's talked about it, he goes for it first, but Simon has to do a hell of a lap to be still able to compete with those guys up there in the front spots, because I think he will lose time, because it's actually time for those dry compound tires. But let's see how he'll do. I mean, he's now going into the pits with a lot of locking up, really dangerous, the pit entry on those in the wet weather, because breaking down to 60 kilometers an hour is really hard. And he goes for the hard tires and is already overtaken by James Baldwin, his team colleague, and Alvaro does it too. So yeah, as I said, he lost a lot of time there.
He did indeed. Naturally, as the track dries up, the intermediates become less and less efficient, as we now see Bernardo Perez making a move on the inside of Jan Fieler. Can he get it done before the Virage Centre as they dive through? The Williams moving into P7. Indeed, Jan Fieler unfortunately playing mercy there to the Williams driver, though he is on hard tyres compared to the far superior mediums in terms of delta pace, and Bernardo Perez obviously delighted with that. Now in P7, he's chasing down Calcifer for his P6 position, and I gotta say, it's impressive seeing the track changing. Really interesting, in fact, to see it change so quickly. We've now gone from a wet race almost immediately to a dry race now. DRS is now active, as we just saw. Bernardo Perez was right behind Jan Fieler, just couldn't get it done on the Casino stretch, but he got it done in the Virage Centre. So he will now be weighing up Calcifer for a potential move as well. P6 in the mind's eye of Bernardo Perez right now as they make their way around the Apingle hairpin. Flying Finn now also moving into contention with a potential move on Alvaro Aznar as they come down towards the Wall of Champions. And Alvaro Raznar still holding on for the time being, but how long can he last as they make their way on the outset of that bend now? James Baldwin setting the fastest time of a 1:12.027. Dramatic as we now see the Red Bull move over the other team, that being the Toro Rosso, obviously a subsidiary of the Red Bull team, but no friends being made here as Flying Finn moves out to be into P2 and once again shows off his great pace, and I gotta say, he's looking in great form today, Maku.
Yeah, he's in really great form, and you've talked about it. He's coming back into esports, and he had really great races in these first days of his comeback. And yeah, I think he's really showing his pace today, and he's for sure now chasing James Baldwin. And Simon Wagging is also kind of chasing James Baldwin because he wants this position back. He wants actually the first place back because that's where he kind of belonged, where he was before.
He did indeed, and I got to say, James Baldwin really making the most of it right now. He's currently 6 seconds clear as things stand, so Flying Finn's really got to get busy if he wants to try and close the gap. Simon Vigang, though, making moves on his own. Jan Fieler once again doing battle with Bernardo Perez, and he has taken back that P7 that he lost earlier on, and now he's trying to weigh up Calcifer. So Calcifer's now come into the mix here with Jan Fieler, as well as ahead of him Andinator, who I've got to say, impressive drive given the fact that he comes from the B split. But I've got to say, that's no reflection on his performance in this race. He's currently in P5 and driving extremely well, though he has got Calcifer falling prey on him right now as they make their way around the Virage Centre. Andinator taking that extremely well, but so did Calcifer. Jan Fieler managing to come back into the fray as well, and we're going to have a very, very close battle between no less than 4 cars here between P5 and P8. As they make their way around now, as you can see, as they make their way around the Pont de la Concorde, Calcifer just ahead of that racing point right now, but Jan Fieler knows that Bernardo Perez is so close to his gearbox right now, he must be thinking, I've got to try and dispatch Calcifer sooner rather than later, Maku.
Yeah, for sure he will, and I mean, all the drivers are not piled up that close together, and you know, changing back into the dry weather is really a thing because, you know, in the wet weather it's hard to overtake. It's not impossible, as we've seen, even though a lot of overtakes have been done into the last chicane right at the Wall of Champions, and now we're going onto the Casino Strat with this 4-pack of Calcifer, Jan Fieler, Bernardo Perez, and Hayes, and they're all looking for the place in front of them, except for maybe Andinator. And yeah, let's see. I think there will be a lot of overtakes done.
Yeah, well, I got to say, Bernardo Perez must be absolutely frustrated as Jan Fieler having a look on the outside, very aggressive look indeed, and Bernardo Perez very nearly taking advantage of the situation. And like I said before, he must be really frustrated because, of course, he's on the medium compound. Bear in mind the 3 cars that are ahead of him, all on hards, but he can't seem to find a way past Jan Fieler, who's now making a move on Calcifer through the left-right chicane after the Pont de la Concorde, and it looks like the Racing Point might have the edge here. But here goes Bernardo Perez, 3 wide, coming in towards the bridge, but not this time, as the Racing Point comes through the next chicane, dives in on the inside, the Pink Panther strikes again, P6 for Jan Fieler, but Calcifer's also in trouble, because here comes Bernardo Perez, on the outside, on the mediums, coming in, oh, he's on the grass, oh, that's terrible, he's off the circuit, and indeed Hayes is now taking advantage. Bernardo Perez squeezed out there into the Impingle hairpin, could not take advantage, and Calcifer lives to fight another day in P7, and is only half a second behind Jan Fieler, Maku.
That completely ruined Bernardo Perez' race and his strategy. But of course, Jan Fieler and Calcifer will have a real battle. Andinator had a little bit of an advantage because he could get away a little bit from those two. But now Camel Common is overtaking Crew 6, also one of the medium runners, Camel. He also needs to look for gaining in the time now because all the other ones won't be going for another pit stop, and he has to, I think. He can't go through the whole race on mediums. I think that would be like over 20 laps.
Yeah, that would be quite a bold thing to do. I mean, certainly we've got still quite a long race ahead of us. I mean, obviously lap 19 of 35 to go. Remember, tyre wear is still a massive factor here at Canada, in fact more so than maybe other circuits, given the fact that we have such short, snappy corners. But I've got to say, I've got to give credit to James Baldwin here. He's still hanging on to his lead by nearly, just under 5 seconds now. Flying Finn is slowly clawing at that delta time between him and James Baldwin, and indeed sets the fastest lap at 1:10.641. So Flying Finn is pushing Maku, trying to close the gap between him and the McLaren right now, though James Baldwin must be looking for his first race win here at ORL.
Yeah, Flying Finn is now really flying through the whole the track, and yeah, I think James is just setting his pace at the same as Flying Finn's, so he just tries to hold this like 5 seconds as good as he can. He's not really going for pushing, because then maybe he can make those mediums last a lot longer and still be fast than Finn's. And so he maybe has the advantage in the end. But yeah, let's take a look. I think both of them still need to go into the pits and go for the soft tires then. Yeah, take a look who will get the advantage.
Well, poor Calcifer currently, he's currently under more increasing pressures. James Baldwin gets another time penalty now, and that negates the time gap between him and Flying Finn, because let's not forget, he has got 2 time penalties as James Baldwin. I'm not sure what the situation is with Flying Finn, as we now see Calcifer is currently under a spot of bother here, because Hayes has managed to really close the gap on the unsuspecting Alfa Romeo, and indeed as they enter the home straight, that Alfa Romeo extremely close to the front end of that Red Bull. Now, is this going to be a chance for Hayes to make a move going into the barrage turn? He has a little look down the inside, but no, not on this occasion. And Bernardo Perez, who has been left frustrated on those medium tyres, once again behind another car, he has now got to deal with the fact that Hayes is ahead of him, obviously, since he ran wide. As Jan Fieler picks up a 3-second time penalty, that won't help him, given the fact that this group is so close together. But Calcifer really in trouble, as I said before, as they make their way around the left right now. You can see Hayes there plugged, or he's in the midst of a sandwich between a Williams and an Alfa, as indeed you can see Calcifer dead ahead as they make their way under the bridge. What will be now the next chicane towards the Epingle, and this will be the chance here for potentially Jan Fieler to move up a spot, because he's right behind Andonator as they make their way around the next hairpin bend, and indeed Jan Fieler braking later to try and close that gap as best he can, making most of, well, try and getting all the traction he can out of that corner. Andonator now very close to that racing point. Now with the DRS he'll have every chance, as you can see Andonator trying to break the slipstream there, and I think he's done so effectively, as we can now see Calcifer has managed to hold off Hayes, at least for the time being, using the DRS that he's got on Jan Fieler, but Hayes just tapping the boards there, and the Red Bull got a very nice exit out of the Wall of Champions, goes for a move on the inside, but shut to the door Calcifer there, and stopping that Red Bull from making any sort of moves, as you can now see the Red Bull very tightly close behind there. We could have very nearly had a 3-car collision going around that Virage Centre. As you can see, they broke on the edge there, very nearly losing his front wing there, did Hayes, and Bernardo Perez very nearly going into the back of him as well, so he very nearly had a bit of a cluster as Hayes moves in on the outside, a bit of a slide there, moves past Calcifer, and we did see these two battling earlier on, and indeed they're doing so again. Bernardo Perez also left frustrated earlier on, making a move here, potential 3-wide situation, but no, Hayes getting it done, holding off the approach from Calcifer, and Bernardo Perez, who's looking really menacing right now, as they make their way down towards what will be the Epingle hairpin, and Hayes making a move, moving up to P7. The Red Bull takes advantage. Great move indeed, Maku.
Yeah, really great move. Well, really close racing, you have to say, because Bernardo is still like so close to the back of Calcifer, and we already said a lot of times he has the medium tires. He actually has to gain a lot of time. He should actually be faster than Calcifer, and I hope for him he will get this place now. But it doesn't seem like he's really closing into Calcifer, but indeed we have in the meantime a few overtakes. For example, Jan Fieler overtaking Andonator, taking now the lead of this big group of drivers who are really close together. And now Jan Fieler has kind of the his task is to close into Simon Wiegang, who's nearly 10 seconds away from them.
Yeah, well, he's got a chance here, Simon, to try and get past Alvaro Aznar. They're just making their way around the Pingle hairpin now. The orange McLaren surging up once again on the Toro Rosso. As you can now see, Simon Vigan probably getting a superior exit there on the Toro Rosso. You've got to think a move's got to be made here. The DRS will light up, and indeed sweeps past him at the very start of the casino straight, and the McLaren dives through and takes P3. He's in the podium spots as Leonard sets the fastest lap of a 1:10.033. Very good job indeed from the Racing Point. As we now see Simon Vigan in McLaren moving into P3. McLaren holding Ps 1 and 3 right now, and Flying Finn only slightly gaining on James Baldwin right now, and you've got to think that eventually those tyres are going to give out, Maku, as we see Bernardo Perez making a move on Calcifer just before the Virage Serra. The Williams does indeed make it happen and moves up into P7. Great move there from the Williams driver. Bernardo Perez, obviously, like I said earlier, left frustrated given the fact that he could not make the overtakes that he wanted to earlier on his fresher mediums. He's now got to try and catch up with Andonator and Jan Fieler on tyres that probably feel less than impressive right now, given the fact that he's been on them so long in this race. We're in lap 24 or 35. It's nearly time for the final 10 laps, Maku. I can't believe it. It's just been so much action here.
Yeah, it really is. With Bernardo Perez, with some unfortunate events, of course, he's really struggling at the moment. But James Baldwin has a really good race at the moment. He's managing the gap to Flying Finn pretty well, and it's just 11, 12 laps remaining, and they both need to go for another pit stop. Well, even though there could be the possibility that someone tries to take a very unnormal strategy and just tries to bring those mediums to the end. It's just a social race, so there are no championship points you could lose. So it could be the opportunity for Flying Finn, but I think James Baldwin nearly has this win if he doesn't make any big mistakes until the end.
Yeah, he's just got to take it one corner at a time. Obviously just drive what's ahead of him. Doesn't have to worry too much about what's going on behind. The Flying Finn is slowly closing that gap. It's now 3.8 seconds as things stand, as we now see Alvaro Aznar tucked in behind Simon Vigan right now, still looking to regain his P3 that he did have earlier on, though indeed he's still in P4 for the time being, 7/10 away from Simon Vigan, who I've got to say is looking really sharp at this moment in time, and also looking to close the gap on Flying Finn. We could yet see a double McLaren 1 and 2 potentially. That's if Simon can close on the Flying Finn, though it seems right now that we are where we are, at least for the time being. Lap 25 of 35 right now. Alvaro Aznar P4, 7.5 tenths behind Simon Vigan. That's nearly 8 tenths now, should I say. So Simon is pulling away as we now see Flying Finn, who has pitted. So is James Baldwin. Simon Vigan on provisional P1, at least for the time being, as we now see James Baldwin exiting on fresh softs, Maku. Surely he's got this strategy in the bag.
Yeah, he surely has, especially because he has now the soft tires. He's like it's now 6 seconds behind Simon Wigan and Alvaro Aznar, but those two have both the hard tire on, and the hard tires comparing to the soft, like 1.5 seconds at least slower. So James Baldwin doesn't really need even push to get those guys, because he still has 9-10 laps until the end. He just needs to carefully close in, make these overtakes as clean as possible, and then retake the lead carefully. And Flying Finn is going for another set of mediums. Looks for me a little bit confusing.
Yeah, that is interesting indeed, and he's still very much fallen prey to Jan Fieler, who is currently in P5. He's only 6 tenths behind the Red Bull as things stand, and will have DRS. Now, that would be the last thing that Flying Finn would want, to see the Racing Point overtake him, but I think for the time being, obviously that gap is far too large for any move to be made as they come up to the Wall of Champions now. The Red Bull now currently in P4. 3-second time penalty though for Jan Fieler. He did take a lot of that curve heading into the Wall of Champions and has been penalised for that manoeuvre, as we now see Jan Fieler now closing the gap on Flying Finn. Though I got to think on those fresh medium tyres, Flying Finn shouldn't have too much of a problem pulling away, as we now see Alvaro Aznar, who's still currently half a second behind Simon Vigan. He's done extremely well to hold that gap between him and the McLaren driver, who's currently in P1, but obviously they've both got to be wary of James Baldwin, who's on fresh soft compound tyres, who, like you say, Mac, who just needs to keep it on the track, because naturally he should gain pace as this race gets pulled out.
Yeah, we see him now closing over 1 second per lap. And for sure, in the next few laps, we'll see him then battle with Alvaro Aznar. And I'm not sure. I don't think Alvaro is currently really attacking Simon, but if they battle, James Baldwin will have an even greater advantage, because yeah, his tires will just bring the advantage over both of them. Maybe he can even overtake both of them at a time. But yeah, just let's see. He'll need to really he can do it carefully. And I mean, some of the other drivers still need to push to get in that front spot. Common is now going into the pits, and yeah.
Yeah, we're now seeing Bernardo Perez now. He's got his own battle going on with Andonator. Now, Andonator's on the other medium tyres, I believe. You can now see that Bernardo Perez, no, sorry, actually, he's on hard tyres. Andonator currently in P6, Bernardo Perez on mediums. Remember, he's had those on for a little while now, and Andonator is now going to try and just hold him off for the time being. Though Andonator has driven a very, very fair race today, given the fact that he's up against a lot of these split A drivers. And certainly showing to him, certainly showing to be a formidable force for the future is Andonator, and I'm sure we'll see more of him in ORL. And I definitely look forward to commentating on him again. I had the pleasure of commentating on him in AOR a few months back, and he was very, very pacey back then. And that was in battles with the likes of Kamil Komon, who is another driver not to be reckoned with as well. And we're now seeing Bernardo Perez moving up on the Mercedes right now, just before the Wall of Champions. Can he get a move done as he gets in closer and closer? Just moves out the slipstream, maybe a little bit too early there. And Andonator able to try and, well, indeed hold on to P6. The DRS will become active once again for the Williams of Bernardo Perez. Can he get it done into the virage centre as he moves in on the inside? Oh, a little bit of a late move there. Loses. Oh, he doesn't lose any front wing, but indeed clipped the back end of Bernardo Perez. Sorry, not of Bernardo Perez, Andonator, and comes out on the track now in P8. So not a good day at the office for Bernardo Perez. That's a couple of instances now where he's been moved out wide and off the track, and he's now been relegated down, like I said, to that P8 position. Maku, it hasn't been his day today.
No, it really hasn't been. As we mentioned, you mentioned Carmen. He looks like he hasn't the day today too, because he's currently P11. Maybe some strategy things. Maybe not. Maybe he doesn't like the rain. But yeah, we can instead now watch James Baldwin, because he's now closing into those front two. He's the third. He's now nearly in this 1 second margin, and he'll get DRS onto the next opportunity, and then he will just have one of the greatest advantage you can actually have. And I think, no, he's not already, but he's so close. He's been so close to Alvaro Asna already, and down this first corner, the soft tires are just that much of an advantage, and he's for sure looking for that overtake into the next few corners. But now he's just getting DRS, just having the better exit, having the DRS, and completely going for that overtake should be actually enough. And yeah, he can carry a lot more speed than Alvaro Asna into that corner because of his tires. And now it's just his team colleague in front of him, not even a second away, and that's the last overtake. He wants to make this race so he can lead this one until the end.
Yeah, I mean, it should be fairly academic here for James Baldwin, but obviously the penalty situation is how it is. The one soft tyres right now with 5 laps remaining. If he can get past Simon Vigang, he can pull out the delta that will negate the penalties he has sustained earlier on. That's if he pushes now and is able to get past his teammate Simon Vigang. Whether he'll make this difficult for his teammate, I'm not sure. Obviously he'll have ambitions of winning this race as well, though it is only an exhibition race. It does not matter. These drivers all want to win on track, as we now see James Baldwin making his way down through the Vettel-Hamilton chicane with Simon Vigang dead ahead of him right now as they make their way around the Pont de la Concorde, and a little bit of desyncing happening there with the current leader as James Baldwin sustains yet another 3-second time penalty. So that's 9 seconds to his name right now. Not a good place to be for James Baldwin, the world's fastest gamer. Needs to put the skates on now to try and negate it. Simon Vigang, oh, no love lost there between the two McLaren drivers indeed. No, certainly no teammates friendlies there going round that chicane, as we now see that James Baldwin now will have to wait his turn on the casino straight. As you can now see Simon Vigang still holding on to P1, but for how long? Because James Baldwin now will have have DRS heading down the Casino Straight. You can see the McLaren ahead of him. He'll have to let this one go because obviously James Baldwin making the most of it now. Now he's got to get to work, pulling the time gap between him and Simon Vigang to make safe the P1 position so that the penalties don't infect with it. It's going to be extremely interesting. Maku, are you able to have a look at the penalty situation for us?
Yeah, I had, but it's really confusing because Simon has I think 2 penalties, if I counted here correctly. Should be 2 penalties, and James Baldwin has a lot. I think it's already 5.
Wow.
5 3-second time penalties, which means he has 15 seconds. Simon has 2 time penalties, so that should be 9 seconds. He has to be clear in front of Simon.
Well, he's really got to get to work, so Simon just needs to stay within that gap then. James Baldwin cannot afford to pick up anything else, otherwise that will mean that his P1 is going to be in jeopardy towards the end of this Grand Prix. As we now see James Baldwin round the Apingle hairpin now. Alvaro Asnar, though, still very much plugged into the back of Simon Vigang. Now, I know he picked up a penalty earlier on in this race, but the way things are strung out now, if Alvaro Asnar can stay in touch, and Flying Finn is coming into the fray as well. Remember, he's on medium tyres, which could work out to be just as effective in this late stage. I know we questioned it, Maku, and I know you weren't sure about his strategy, but in amongst the battling going on between Simon and Alvaro, he's managed to claw it back, and especially on those medium tyres, he's going to start finding pace now.
Yeah, it looks like he can maybe put on the podium, but I'm just taking a look at the penalties, but because if Flying Finn has very less penalties than the other guys, but he hasn't. He has still 1 5-second penalty, which he hasn't served in the pits, and 3 3-second time penalties. So in terms of penalties, but in terms of track position, he's now able to overtake Alvaro Asnar because of his better tires. But he has still disadvantage of penalties. Because he has if I do the maths correctly, he has 14 seconds worth of penalties still.
Well, I've got to say, at this moment in time, he could be on for a P2 here. 2 place gains in the space of a lap. Now, that's impressive, and certainly Flying Finn is not one to be underestimated as the Red Bull dives in on the outside and gets it done just before the Wall of Champion chicane, and the medium tyres proving effective right now as they make their way down the straight past the paddock. And indeed, James Baldwin has got to be aware of this Red Bull, and he's certainly finding speed as they make their way around the Virage Centre, and he took it extremely quick. What pace being shown here by the Flying Red Bull, the Flying Finn. Certainly got a little bit of Mika Hakkinen about him right now on those medium tyres, making his way through the Vettel-Hamilton chicane. He's got James Baldwin dead ahead of him now. The Pont de la Concorde he's just surpassed, making his way around the next left and right. And indeed, the way things are penned out right now, penalties could very well decide the fate of this Grand Prix, given the fact that James Baldwin is now under threat because Flying Finn is very much in amongst him here. And obviously Simon Vigang in the loop as well for a potential P1 as well. So I got to say, James Baldwin could have his special day ripped away from him here, the way things are going. And I got to say, Flying Finn looking very dangerous in terms of track position. He's already half that delta time, Maku.
Yeah, he's really close to James Baldwin, and I think he has to keep in this 1 second window to at least overtake with penalties James Baldwin. But I think Simon Vigang will overtake both, not on track, but with penalties, because he has just less than both. But yeah, let's see that the penalties getting added and at the end will be really interesting. But those Flying Finn, he still wants to take that on track lead. He wants to win by track position, be the first one to go over the line when the race when the race director is waving the checkered flag.
Well, unless Simon makes a brutal mistake, I think currently he's only 2 seconds back from Flying Finn, as we now see Flying Finn really zooming up here on James Baldwin. Wants to make a statement here by overtaking him right now, and they're going to go together down towards the Apingle. Can the Red Bull make it happen as he dives in on the outside here at the final lap here? Can he make this cinematic happen as they make their way down towards the Casino Straight for the last time? James Baldwin knows that he's under pressure because here comes Flying Finn on the inside of the McLaren. What a great race he's driven today. He surpasses James Baldwin, moves into P1. I'm not sure what's going to happen when they cross the line, folks, because it's going going to be? Questions all over the park right now as we now see Flying Finn come up towards the line and on track will win the Canadian Grand Prix. But as things go, Simon steals it at the death. Simon Vigang is your race winner here in Canada. Alvaro Asnar taking home a mighty P2. Flying Finn, what a drive. P3 for him. James Baldwin, probably the unlucky number of the day. It's another 4th place here for the world's fastest gamer. Very unfortunate for him. If it wasn't for the penalty situations, it would have been a podium for James Baldwin today.
Yeah, really unfortunate with the penalty situation for him. He showed a really great pace, and I'm not sure. I hope. I'm not sure if he battled until the end or if he just said, well, penalties will get effect, and so I may let him pass, but I don't think so. I think he battled until the end. He wanted to have that last bit. He wanted to win the race by race position. But yeah, Flying Finn had a great race too. Had a kind of different strategy, but it paid out in the end. He's just 3rd, even though he crossed the line first. But that's it with penalties, especially in Canada. Those penalties are really, the stewards have a lot to do there.
Yeah, it's going to be heavily looked at, I'm sure, but the winner is not in question. Simon Vigang doing the business here today and parks his McLaren in the P1 spot. What a race for him. And Alvaro Asnar as well coming in the top 3 as well. And I'm sure he's delighted with that. Let's not forget the Red Bull driver as well in P3. We'll go through the final classifications. The rain once again pours down here at Canada. It just doesn't know when to start or stop. Simon Vigang taking P1 here at Canada in this exhibition race here at ORL. Alvaro Asnar taking P2. The Flying Finn, what a race from him today, takes P3 and a podium spot. James Baldwin P4, very unlucky there from him. Calcifer, what a race from him today. P5 for Calcifer. Very good drive indeed. Andonator P6, not a bad result here from the B-split champion. Hayes in P7. Arsene Kardanov P8. Jan Fila P9. CRG Common rising up the ranks from that 14th place on the grid. P10 for the Toro Rosso. Photon there in P11. Kruzic P12. Bernardo Perez, he had to battle on those mediums earlier on. P13. Leonard in P16. And unfortunately, we lost Boomson, who had problems with his pedals, and Mr. Anchor as well, who we lost very early on in the race. But Maku, I think we're going to be having driver interviews shortly, but what a race indeed.
Yeah, what a really interesting race with in terms of strategy, in terms of overtaking. Was really, you've seen everything you can, I think, because we've seen the strategy pay out, the weather, of course, pay out for some of the drivers. Then in the end, a lot of great overtakes and great maneuvers who really brought the places to people, but also the penalty system. Not only of the game penalty system is not the best, but it's okay. And in Canada, well, you gain a lot of penalties, and mostly it's correct, because you can very easily cut there. So yeah, you've seen nearly everything on the track, what you can see in the game.
You certainly have, and I got to say, credit to all the drivers on track out there today. Very, very difficult circumstances to drive in. Obviously, the changing conditions very much causing a stir and a mix-up right through this race today. But I got to say, credit to all of them for giving 100% in that race, and certainly they all deserve every little bit of credit that falls their way. But credit today obviously goes to Simon Vigang, a cracking P1 indeed, after a season that has been flooded with obviously difficulties in trying to overtake the likes of Speed Barry and Jarno Otmir. He certainly had the challenges out on track going through the season, but picks up a very well-deserved P1 here nonetheless. And in behind him as well, let's not forget the Flying Finn, who exploited some very good moves on track, some cracking overtakes towards the end, took the win across the line, but just wasn't to be due to penalties. And also many congratulations to Alvaro Asnar for taking that P2 spot as well. I'm not sure what the situation is in terms of interviews, folks. We're just waiting for the drivers to join us in the commentary booth right now. I hope you're all enjoying yourself. In the meantime, if you'd like to, drop a like to the stream as well as drop in a subscribe as well. That'd be very much appreciated. I hope you enjoyed the coverage that was brought to you today for ORL, Online Racing League. We very much enjoyed it here. Maku and I certainly had a whale of a time as usual. And apologies for all my shouting as well, if that did indeed pull you off. As we now see CRG Simon has joined us. Simon, welcome to the comms booth.
Thank you.
Calcifer's here as
Hello.
well. Calcifer, hello.
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 We're just waiting on. Are we waiting on a couple more?
Yeah, I think we should. I think will be joining us to the Flying Finns. Got third, and
I think Finn and Alvar is not joining, so you need to invite
Oh.
James.
both are not joining. Oh.
Yeah, Arsen told me. Yep.
Oh, all right. Then
Oh, Jan
Oh.
joined.
We got
there's
Jan
a link.
Thiele. Oh yeah, Jan.
Hi.
Just waiting on one more. I think we're awaiting James Baldwin to join us.
I don't know if he joins. He didn't say anything. I don't think he joins.
Right. Okay. Should we push on then?
Yeah, I think so. Searching for a third one will be like, I think we can search for like ages.
That's fine, no problem. We've got 3 drivers here anyway, so that's fine. We'll start with, of course, the winner, Simon Vigang. Simon, I got to say, credit to your drive today. Penalties everywhere on the track. The conditions very, very difficult. How straightforward was it out there, given the fact that obviously the conditions weren't ideal?
Yeah, the race was very messy. Not a straightforward race, really. It took me quite a while to get used to the inter conditions. But and then obviously James was in front of me in the pit stop phase, so I had to stay out longer, even though the track was dry. So I lost that's 5 seconds or so, or 3, let's say 3. But in general, it wasn't. I don't think I drove very well, but I don't think anyone did, So just sort of kept my nose the cleanest and got the least penalties, which awarded me the win. Yeah.
Was the result satisfying though in terms of the strategy? Because obviously, given the fact that the conditions, obviously strategies change, you have to adapt. Do you take more satisfaction in the fact that you won a race based on the fact that you executed the strategy better than maybe other people did?
I don't even think my strategy was necessarily the best, but it was quite similar. The hards and mediums, or the 2-stop and the 1-stop were quite similar. So, talking to James, we just said, "Hey, look, we split strategies and see what happens." And at the end, they were quite similar. And the factor that really decided the race wasn't the strategy; it was more like more penalties.
Yeah, I mean, obviously devastating for James as well, given the fact that he looked like, I mean, myself and Maku certainly thought the way the race was going. Obviously, he had every opportunity to take the victory here today, given the penalties. But just snatching it at the end, I mean, obviously, Flying Finn, who I've got to say has returned to racing and has been really impressive recently. Would you paint him as one to watch for the future? Because he won a race in AOR at China, which I commentated on, in similar circumstances to how things played out today. He certainly is no slouch, is he, on a racetrack?
No, I don't think he ever was. Don't know him for that long because I think he always was on PC or PS4. We weren't on the same platform for a while. But I heard of him and I always knew he was a quick driver, and he'll definitely stay that way. And he'll be one to watch, surely.
Certainly. And I've got to say, he's only a youngster as well, so plenty more to come from Flying Finn. But I'd like to say
Definitely.
a massive congratulations to yourself as well, Simon. Great victory. And
Thank you.
We'll look forward to seeing you again on track.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to let's move on to the next one on the list. Calcifer, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you.
Well done. Congratulations on a P5. I got to say, qualifying, you were very impressive. You took an initial P2 spot going earlier, which I got to say, don't feel I'm being rude by saying this, but took me by surprise. Obviously, given the fact that how the season's gone for you. Obviously, it's either one way or the other with yourself, isn't it? But you looked extremely competitive out there. Obviously, you were there mixing it up with the midfield. But a P5 finish, you've got to be pleased with that.
Yeah, the qualifying last run I had something like 3 tenths to improve, but then rain started and there was no point to continue my lap. And then in the race, at start was very messy and lost a lot of time with wet tires and yes, then I had to come back with hard tires in the end.
Yeah, I mean,
Pace
obviously,
was pretty good, yep.
I think you did extremely well in the context of things, because Bernardo Perez, who had the mediums on earlier on, I said in the stream that he must be feeling frustrated because he had fresher medium tyres on but could not use them to the full effectiveness, because obviously he had that barrage of cars on the hard tyres ahead of him, but he just could not make that crucial move happen. I mean, you guys on the hard tyres in the midfield doing extremely well to keep the cars on the track and ahead of those medium drivers behind. Was there a conscious effort to try and instill as much pace as you could out of those hards? I mean, obviously you must have been aware of the sharks on the medium tyres, almost pouncing at your feet, almost going through that race.
Yeah, the thing is that they had to catch up with us, and so they already wear out their tires and didn't have the best grip there. So it was pretty equal in the end with mediums and hards.
So you made the most of obviously just trying to defend and hold them off and try and get their tyres to wear out quicker.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah, go on.
How did you find the wet weather yourself? I mean, obviously, I think the conditions played a huge role in what happened today. What were your thoughts on the way the weather conditions impacted the race?
Yeah, it's really fun to have races like that sometimes. Usually it's all the time dry, so I liked it.
Almost like a case of test your strength, I suppose, because racing's almost like a game of chess, isn't it? You've got to put your car in the right place on the track, execute your moves in a certain way, but obviously given the fact that you've got rain to deal with, it could be that much more difficult, can't it?
Yeah, it can be sometimes carnage, but thankfully it ended nice today.
Yeah, well, it's certainly provided myself and Maku some excellent things to see. So, but major congratulations on your P5 as well. And
thank you.
I'm sure we'll see you again. We'll move on to Jan Fiele, who was in the midfield as well, also in the battle amongst you lot today. Jan, obviously, maybe not an ideal result in the race today, but given the fact that you had a lot to do in the midfield pack, because it certainly wasn't easy out there, was it?
No, definitely not. Especially after that huge bottle in qualifying, and then the race, and the wet, starting in the wet. I actually thought about starting on intermediates, but then the game said that would be so much slower. But I really wanted to, and then I just didn't dare to. I guess that would have been the perfect strategy.
I mean, we did see a few drivers pitting early for Inters. I mean, obviously we were quite puzzled ourselves because the track was drying up extremely quickly. I don't think any of us really expected that. Did you ever consider in your mind's eye? I mean, you said that you sort of thought about starting on the Inters. Did you ever think, or were you ever in any doubt that the Inters were going to be the right tyre?
It depends. I mean, at the start of the race, for sure, the wet tires were better. But yeah, I guess lap 2, lap 3 even maybe, then Jeff came on the radio and said, okay, Inters are probably as quick as wets. And I thought, okay, that's just the best time to switch to Inters. I don't know if anyone stretched it out on the wet tires until the dry tires. I guess nobody did.
No, I think the way things set up, I'm not sure Simon might be able to tell you, but I think yourself and James pitted quite early, didn't you, Simon?
No, I think we were even into late. Alvaro Asna undercutted us massively both, so he went in the earliest.
But nobody stayed out on wets, right? The dry tires.
No.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I always felt like also in the past years and in the games that I'm pretty strong when the conditions change, but unfortunately in F1 2019 that change only lasts for like one lap, so there's not much to gain there.
Well, I was going to say, because it seemed to dry up extremely quickly midway through.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. You could almost snap your fingers, and then the track was clear of all water, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Obviously, how did you feel about the move onto the slicks compounds? Was it? Did you feel that you could have executed that maybe a little bit quicker, or did you just go with the flow?
I don't know. I was quite unlucky actually, because I just went through the final corner when Jeff came on the radio and suggested the strategy change, which obviously would have been the best time to pit, because immediately after that DRS gets activated and everything. So, but I don't know. So I guess I could have come in a lap earlier, but it wouldn't have made a big difference in the race results anyway, because at that point already have a 5-second time penalty, because I don't know, the final chicane, you cut that slightly, you usually get a warning. I got a 5-second time penalty once. So I served that in the pits, and then my race was gone at that point anyway. So I just didn't care and didn't pay too much attention, which resulted in 18 seconds of time penalties in the end. Yeah, so I just tried to focus and have some fun on track, which I had. I mean, I had quite a nice move around the outside of Calcifer and start of Sector 2. And apart from that, I think my pace on the hards was quite decent, so I'm happy with that.
It was embarrassing, mate.
As you say, I think I could see you curling your fist up there, Calcifer, just as he said that. But no,
We're gonna meet.
Is that on stream?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, thank you. Very good.
I
Yeah.
think it
Oh
is.
my
If
God.
you look back, I'm pretty sure it is, isn't it, Maku? I think we did cover it earlier on.
I still beat it in the end, so
Yeah, you did indeed. Yeah.
We caught a string of drivers overtaking Calcifer throughout the
Oh my
God. So
But that wasn't even the best thing about my race, because the best thing actually was the start, because it started
oh
P7
yeah, fucking
and
rocket ship start,
before.
man.
I mean, there's not a lot of space, between the start finish line and then turn 1. But before the break-in zone, I gained 2 positions already. That was crazy. I think I don't have ever had a better start in my life.
No, phenomenal start, and I got to say, it looked like you were going to be up there with the rest, and it just obviously things happen. I mean, like I said to Simon, obviously the changing conditions obviously changes everything when it comes to a race, and I don't think today was any different. Given that fact, and also we could speak about Canada, because Canada is a very unforgiving track in terms of track limits. I mean, if you take a chicane an inch too much than what you usually would, you could end up with a 3-second time penalty, and obviously that can happen on many occasions, given the fact that there's so many tight chicanes on this circuit. But nevertheless, it was a cracking race, and obviously kudos to you, Jan, on your performance. I mean, obviously plenty of stuff to watch and admire throughout the race. Just a shame it just couldn't happen at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things. Maybe in AWA on Sunday, I don't mess up qualifying, and then I can actually race with the guys in front.
No, we'll see what happens. I mean, obviously it's another day, another race. Things change, So
Indeed, yeah.
we'll look forward to seeing what can happen. But Maku, what a day's racing! Got to say, these 3 guys. Got to say, big thank you, guys, for joining us in the comms box as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Maku.
you.
Yeah, Maku. What a race though. Superb.
Yeah, what a race! What a race!
Once again,
We really
wild.
had something interesting here today.
We did. I got to say, battles everywhere on the circuit, mixtures of strategies. Certainly was a very interesting watch, and I'm sure we'll have something exciting to move into, because obviously we've got Brazil next week, the grand finale.
Yeah. This is coming up to us, and let's see what this track awaits us, because rain would there be kind of funny too, because Brazil in the rain is kind of difficult, but yeah, let's see what the weather god is bringing us next week. Hopefully for the drivers, of course, a dry race. Then we'll see a lot of overtakes, and yeah, let's see how they'll do. I've enjoyed watching here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll definitely look forward to watching what happens at Brazil next week, and I hope you'll all enjoy that as well, everyone on the stream. I hope you all enjoyed that tonight. It was an incredible race, given the fact that there was action all over the place. Naturally, more drama means more for us to talk about, so we like to bring that to your screens and hopefully to your ears as well. But thank you ever so much for joining us here tonight. Next week, we will be bringing you live action once again here at ORL. It'll be the last league race of the calendar. That is the Brazilian Grand Prix, and Interlagos is our destination. Please join us once again, same time next week on Thursday, where myself, maybe Maku, we're not sure just yet, but we'll bring you an update on Maku's whereabouts next week. We might do a sideshow actually. Where's Maku? I think that'd be a good thing for us to do. But guys, yeah, if you please leave a like and a subscribe down below here at the Online Racing League channel, that'd be very much appreciated. I have been George Morgan. He's been Maku. It's been a pleasure. We'll catch you next week.